Hey, it's Dr. Grant, Change the Game PT. Gonna talk to you today about if you've had outer hip pain before, kind of in this area right here, kind of close to this hip bone even, and maybe even more kind of biasing that front area of the hip. That may be because of a muscle called the TFL. It's tensor fascia latae for the long name. We're gonna call it TFL for short, but essentially it's a muscle that gets overworked in a lot of people for various reasons. But as a golfer, a lot of it has to do with the rotation that you're doing throughout every single swing that you're doing every single day. So if you don't have enough hip mobility, that TFL is gonna essentially brace, especially if the glute med over here, that's that side hip muscle, if that's weak, that also is gonna be a big reason why. Oftentimes, it's also because we have this rounded pelvis into an anterior pelvic tilt. You might have heard of that before, maybe not. Essentially, you can think of like the pelvis being able to turn up and down, kind of tilting forward and back. That anterior tilt is this way, posterior tilt is this way. And so a lot of people are stuck kind of in this anterior position. A lot of low back pain from that, a lot of hip issues from that. It's gonna wreak havoc on your swing. But even most people outside of golf are gonna really experience this as well. But this anterior tilt position, what we need to do is we need to work on essentially biomechanically facilitating the inverse joint mechanics to really get that TFL to stop being so cranky, to really get that long-term relief that we're after. And it's more than just, temporarily working, foam rolling that muscle or that area, or even getting some injections or what have you from the doctor. We want to find out how we can actually get sustained relief, but then we need to be able to have it translate over to the things that we want to do. So we're going to go over a couple exercises here. All right, so here what we're going to do, if you can kind of see what I'm going to be doing with my feet, I'm going to prop my feet up onto this bench, something that's elevated, and relatively, we're going to be kind of relaxed with our legs here. What we're going to do though is we're going to slightly lift up, slightly lifting the back of your hips off the ground. We're not trying to go as high as we can, and we're certainly not trying to feel this in the low back. And so just a slight little lift up, almost thinking that posterior pelvic tilt, the opposite of that anterior tilt that we were talking about. In other words, think belt buckle going over your head. What you should feel is glute max. You might feel a little bit of the glute med here on the side. What we're not after is that TFL here on the front. And so we're gonna lift up and then rotate our feet in like this. We're gonna breathe in and open up as we're breathing in, and then breathing out, bringing it back together. Breathing in as we're opening up those hips, breathing out as we're bringing it together. If you feel hamstring here, I want you to think this cue. I want you to think loose kind of ankles. Make sure that you're not super tense with your ankles and driving your heel or your feet into the bench here. Nice and relaxed. Breathe in. We're going to start here. Breathe in. You should feel outside hip. Breathe out. Bring it back in. So you should feel it with that exercise. If you don't, we'll try this other one. All right, so for this particular one, we're gonna actually put this band around the knees. And so with this band around our knees, we're gonna put our feet up onto just a slight elevated position. We're still gonna be thinking kind of reverse mechanics here at the hip joint to kind of help that TFL. And so we're gonna lift the hips up, not super high, just kind of off the ground, posterior tilting our pelvis. And then we're gonna breathe in. We should really feel that outside hip working. Go as far as you can to where you don't feel that TFL or that front hip kind of taking over. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And so what we're biasing here, when I say reverse joint mechanics, we're talking about hip extension versus flexion, which is that leg coming up. We're talking about extension which is kind of that straightening out, and also external rotation to make basically that TFL reciprocally kind of be inhibited or toned down. Now, it still can be more complicated than that, but what you should see is that this should kind of help provide that relief. If there's other things going on, then that's where it's going to be really important to get assessed to make sure that we can kind of, make sure it's not other things that could be contributing to this problem that you're having with your hip or your low back. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hope you found this helpful and insightful. Let me know what you want to see more of in the comments below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Would really thank you for doing that. And give this video a thumbs up, and I look forward to bringing you more content that helps you achieve the results that you're looking for. But until then, let's change the game.